Hello, hi everyone. Hi, Christine Crowle here, and welcome to the channel. And I just want to say good evening and thank you for your subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. I am just over the moon. I just love coming on here talking to you about all the different challenges that we're currently going through for those of you that are in the UK, for example. So today I'm going to talk about why do people lie on their CVs? And we all know of one of the Councillor Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, had said kind of changed her CV around and made it seem more specialized than what it actually was. And I've come on here today to talk about, this effect of people not telling the truth on their CVs. And even in Parliament, people are doing this as well, which I don't think is acceptable. I really don't. And that's me. I'm talking about my own opinion. Because if someone came to me to work for me and I found out that they lied on their CV, I would not employ them. They would be dismissed instantly, okay? And I think it's wrong that we're setting this precedent that it's okay to lie on your CV. And what does that mean for the employer that's taken someone on and they find out that the person hasn't told the truth on their CV, and then they dismiss them? Are they going to be able to take them to court and say, this is unfair dismissal? I'd love to hear the experts that deal with employment law, for example. What are your views on this? Is this against the law? Could this be challenged? Because if someone came to work for you as an organization and they didn't tell the truth on their CV, then A, you're going to think that that person is untrustworthy. B, you're going to say that person doesn't have integrity, correct? And C, that person could have caused damage in your organization, especially when you're dealing with safeguarding vulnerable adults and children, for example, and someone has lied on their CV and you've taken them on and you find out what, you're going to let them stay? Because when we go through, for example, I'm talking about the Care Quality Commission. For example, you're a registered manager, as well as the provider. It always says that you must have good character, you must be truthful, integrity, all of those things matter, right? Wouldn't you agree? So why is it that Rachel Reeves is still here after her not telling the truth on her CV, according to the discussions that's been happening here, and also her previous colleagues, should I say? Because I don't think that's right. I really do think that if Rachel's allowed to get away with it, then that means that could happen for everyone else that says something incorrectly on their CV. And especially when you're dealing with vulnerable adults and children, that's acceptable. I don't think it is. So I'm just going to cover a few things with regards to this, because it does have an effect on a business when someone does lie on their CV. But why do people lie on their CV? It is obviously it's a desire to impress you, for example. It is also making it so that you're able to stand out amongst the other candidates that could have had that position because they told the truth you've overridden that person because you've seen the CV and it looks really great, for example. You know, especially if it's a high profile role, candidates shouldn't be allowed to do that, to enhance your CV, for example. Yes, you can fit the CV to the position, but make sure that you've got that experience, for example. But it is seen as, to them, a perception of higher standards. Now, some roles, particularly in politics, in leadership, come with this expectation of flawless or impressive track record, prompting, you know, embellishment, for example. Another thing is fear of rejection, insecurity. They may lack confidence in their genuine qualification, but may lead to individuals fabricating details. Fill in the gaps. They might add a few false informations to cover their employment gaps or periods of, you know, inactivity. Now, in the Care Quality Commission, when you're a registered manager, for example, you have to fill the gaps, and those gaps have to be true and real, because if at any time that there is a safeguarding issue and something comes up wrong, then that company, as well as the registered manager, will get into trouble, for example. So why should people be allowed to do that and still remain in that job? Whereas the general public, if this was found out, they would be instantly dismissed, for example. So when you look at things, for example, I've had it where people apply for jobs. They come forward and they say that they can do this, they can do that, and that they've got all this experience. And you look at it and you're like, yeah, they've got a really good reference here. And then you write off to their employer, for example, and that person gives you a reference. Usually it just says, this is when they started, this is when they finished. It's very bland. Nothing, because of what's happened in the past, for example, we're not really allowed to say our truths of what we feel that that person is like. Otherwise, we can get into trouble as employers. So we have to be mindful of what we say. So I think this is causing so that people are actually getting into positions that they shouldn't really be in. And it's not until that person has been with you for a number of weeks, because if you've taken someone on at a high position, for example, and they've got it getting a really high wage, then you expect the best from them. You're not there to, you can train them for a short while. Yes, this is how the company works. This is the induction. This is what you've got to do. Now, crack on with it. Here you go. You crack on with it, kind of thing. And you soon realize after a short period of time that that person is not what they said that they was. They're stalling. They're taking a long time to do things. These are the signs that you need to look out for when you've taken someone on and they've had this really impressive CV, the references have come back, everything has matched, and suddenly, just drink my tea as usual, suddenly you ask for the work. You notice that the work's not coming through, so you're like, what's going on here? You know something is wrong. When you've been doing this a long time, you know when something is wrong. So you're like, right, I've had the meeting with you the first week. I've told you what it is that I expect from you. You've had some training. You've watched videos. You've been meant to have been filling forms out. Then this is a senior management position I'm referring to. Then you meet with them the following week, and you don't hear anything. It's like crickets. That's a red flag. If you've taken someone on that is meant to be qualified and is able to do the job and they're receiving high pay, for example, then you expect the work to be done. They're there to help the company, not there to help themselves. They're there to help the company so that all the team members are able to do their jobs effectively. Everybody has to be a leader, and this is when you go through your, especially when April 2025 comes, you got to make sure that everyone in your organization is a leader of their own job that they're doing. You will not have time to keep chasing around after people unless they're a complete newbie and maybe they're, like a 16, 18-year-old, for example. Then they need to 19-year-old, then they need to, or even 21-year-old, for example, even a 25-year-old. But when they're seasoned and they've been doing something for so long, for example, and they've got the qualification, they've got the reference back, which is, these references are quite sparse these days. Seriously, it's like sometimes you think, why bother? And then when you ring and you try and get more information, it's like they don't want to give it to you. Really, that's a red flag as well. So I'll give you an example. So like I said, they know what their job is. They've signed the agreement, say, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And then crickets, they're not doing anything. You're looking on Microsoft. What meetings have they booked? 0 meetings. What notes are they putting on the software that you have? Like Asana, for example. 0. There's nothing there. So that means that person's not working. You call that person's extension, they don't pick up. That means they're not working. Then another example is that, right, okay, these are the list of clients that you need to be working with. I want to see at least this number of work being done by this date, and the date comes and they haven't done anything. So then you have to have a meeting. Why was the work not done? Oh, I was just reading through the notes. Okay, but you should have read through the notes even in your first week. So why are we still here in week 3, for example? These are the things that you need to look out for if someone has really lied on their CV or stretch the truth a bit on their CV. Okay? I'm not saying that everybody is a liar on their CV. I'm just saying when they've stretched the truth as well. Okay? Now, because lie is a very strong word, okay? But I wanted to put that because that's what's been said about Rachel Reeves, so I've put that there. But another aspect is that when someone comes in your organization at a high level, managerial position, or even direct level, sales director, whatever, and they're not doing the work, then that seriously is a red flag that they either have got another job on the side. Because sometimes when people come to work for you in a high position, guess what? They're doing your work plus possibly 2 other work, especially when they're working remotely, for example. You don't know really how many things that person is doing, for example, unless you got the camera on them 24/7, which is what we do now, is we have Google Meet so we can see everybody. So that person that's applied for a job, they've only thought about themselves. They haven't thought about the company. They haven't thought about their colleagues. And they've been disrespectful because they're clearly not working, but yet they're there trying to claim money as if they have worked. And then you challenge them about it, and they really haven't got much to say. Sometimes people think that you were born yesterday and that you don't know how things work. So I just wanted to explain some of the signs that you can see when someone has applied for a position and you've given them the job and they've got this reference, which all it says is the start date and the end date and whether they had any sickness. I don't know if they're allowed to say that these days. But no one is really saying, oh, this person is amazing. I would hire them back today if I could. They were brilliant. It's a shame that I had to let them go. Why are we not seeing enough of that? Why? I don't understand. So it's a big consequence, it's a big impact on a company when someone doesn't tell the truth on their CV. But yet, if they were applying to work with a care organization, for example, then it puts clients at risk, and that's a safeguarding issue. So you would be, well, you would tell them straight out, well, actually, your CV, that's not correct, what you've got on there. So we're letting you go instantly. Dismissal, for example. But I don't understand why employers, some employers, are giving people a reference. Is it because they just want to get rid of people? Say, look, I'll give you a good reference. And they're like, quick, go. I've had enough. I ain't got time to go through ACAS, for example, and you take me to court and I've got to then defend myself and spend $5,000, for example, for doing that. I had it where I had people where three people, they said they were working and there was only one person in the office. The other two were at home. And yet they were claiming as if they were working. And then they wonder why you've got this clock in and clock out thing. And they see it as, oh, this is really strict. It's strict because people have come in and they've been dishonest. And it's made it bad for everyone to not work on a trust basis, which you should be able to within your organization. So, like I said, believe it, it needs to be verified. Many assume that those certain details, especially those from the distant past, won't be checked thoroughly. You've got to check everything. Just like with CQC, they've got to request information from when you finish school up to the present. Any gaps need to be explained. There should be no gaps unexplained in a CV, because that means they could have been in prison for a year and you wouldn't even know about it, for example. So be mindful of that. So this is really, it really is setting a precedence that, seeing that Rachel Reeves has got away with this CV, it also encourages dishonesty as well. And this can backfire. Once exposed, it's being exposed now, but yet everyone's shouting and talking about it, but what's really happened? She's still in her position. She still is the Chancellor. And these lies often result in significant public scrutiny, and it diminishes trust. because now there's no trust. You know, how many people knew that she got the position? How many people knew that the CV wasn't as it was meant to be? So for professionals, especially public figures like Rachel Reeves, being caught in a lie can jeopardize current positions and future opportunities. It also encourages ethical doubts. It raises questions about their integrity and their decision making to other areas. So whatever she says now, people are really questioning whether she's telling the truth or not. She's in power, so is she telling us the truth? It's like when, before they got into power, they said they were going to do this, that, and the other, and suddenly this unannounced, oh, there's this black hole and it's been hidden from us. That's why we've had to change things. Everyone should know where the British public money is and how it's been spent. It doesn't go into a black hole. It can't go into a black hole. That's like small to medium-sized businesses. If we've got something and there's an account there, and we're like, oh, you know, it went into this black hole and I don't know what happened to it. What do you think would happen under the Companies Act? What do you think would happen? So how can you prevent this as an employer? Okay? Thorough vetting. Organizations should verify claims, especially for critical roles. Speak with the organization and get them to give you more details. Push. Just be cheeky and just push. And say, look, you know, let's be honest here. I need this information because of the critical role that this person is in. Encourage transparency. Rewarding honesty over perfection reduces the incentive to lie. You know, because it's okay for someone not to be, you know, as high up trained as what they would really like to, and they need a bit of development, but yet they're trying to claim the highest rate. That's where it's wrong, because really the employer should be able to say, look, you know, because you're not that, you need some development, I'd like you to do a course or whatever. So your rate is going to be this rate until after, could be a year or two, see how you get on, and you've, you know, done really well, then we'll look at increasing. But to go in expecting the top amount of money when you really don't know what you're doing and you're just making it up as you go along is not helping the company. You should stay away from that company if that's how you operate, because it's wrong. You can cause great difficulty, stress, financial loss for that company. I've had to let people go because, you know, as soon as I find out they're not doing anything, I let them go. Because it's not fair to the clients that receive the services. So be open about any gaps and why and what happened. Whether you was on sick leave, be open. You know, because it's up to the owners, the employers, to decide whether to take you on because you've been truthful and honest. So think about this. Insights into how such incidents happen are viewed differently. It's meant to be viewed differently for public figures versus the average individual? Well, I'm sorry, I think this is the other way round. The individual is the one that gets the hardest treatment for this, whereas the public figure, like Rachel Reeves, for example, and I'm going according to what I've heard, she's still in power, she's still talking, she's still within the parliament. And so to me, the public, we're the ones that are treated differently if we lie on our CVs, but yet a public figure can do that and get away with it, basically. So I just wanted to talk to you live here today to say, please do not tell porkies, well, I won't say porkies, tell lies on your CV, because it impacts the business, it impacts your colleagues that you work with, it is not truthful, and it will also affect you getting any future jobs, because any employer that spots that you've lied on your CV, they're not going to give you a reference. They're not going to say, oh yeah, she was great, or he was great, wonderful, CV was cracking, it was really good, I would definitely hire them again. Is that what you want? No. So don't think about, a lot of people think about the money. When they're applying for a position, they think about the money. So then they try and match the money try and match their CV to that money, so it's a perfect match. But if you're, in reality, if your CV is like their average and you're there wanting the top rate, then you won't get it. You shouldn't get it, and you should not be expecting to get it, because you haven't earned it. You don't earn the top rate when you haven't worked at top rate, where you're not world class. You're mediocre, you're working slow, you're not doing what you're meant to be doing, you've lied on your CV, and you're hiding. You must be frightened, like a frightened rabbit, for example, because you haven't told the truth on your CV, and your boss or your manager is expecting this amazing work from you, and you haven't produced anything, and it's like a week, 2 weeks, and you come up with excuses. You go off sick maybe, or you come into work, you're very anxious, you're stressed, because you know that you have not told the truth on your CV, and that's wrong. Start off where you're meant to be, and then you can grow and develop into the level that you want to be. But please, employers, directors, look out for these types of CVs, because it can ruin your business, literally, and also affect other people's jobs as well. So thank you so much for listening to today. Today's video was about why do people lie on their CVs. And if you've liked what I've said today, if you could please like and subscribe, so that whenever a new video comes out, you get notification, share, let people know what it is that we're doing. We're talking about really business recovery, we're talking about damage limitation, we're talking about CEO skills, we're talking about staffing, we're talking about what is in the news today that is referable to businesses. And please don't apply for a position if you're not experienced, because you will get found out, and then when you get found out, people will think badly of you. They're not going to want to give you a reference. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's talk, and employers, do look out for your candidates that are applying for positions, because remember, April 2025, that staff member has got to be of high caliber. I spoke earlier today about you need team leaders, Navy SEAL, Team 6 type people in your business, especially next year, because it needs to be lean. You got to get rid of those that are not productive for your organization. And I don't mean that in a nasty way, but for survival reasons as well. So thank you so much for listening today, and I hope that you've enjoyed this training, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon, and I will see you on the internet.